up, whoop, 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 louder, please. Ha ha. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, night riders. Yes, today we are turning up the volume on children's ministry because it's Children's Protection Week in South Africa. This is Midnight Date, and I am Major Dot. Wow, wow, wow. This is a day we've been waiting for. We have been longing for this day. We're so excited. Now, come on, send your comments right away. You know who's in the house. She needs no introduction. You know her already. We have been waiting for her, and today, before we go anywhere, I want you to send at least 10 birthday wishes to Midnight Date Show. Yes, because today we are one plus one. The Lord has given us the great, and we are forever grateful for that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I can see all of you. Come on, share this broadcast. At least how many times? 10 times. Tell everybody we are live, we are live, we are live, and we're turning up the volume on children. You know, most of the times we leave children out of interviews, we leave children out of conversations. But they are there. They exist. We need to talk about them. And this is so significant today because it coincides with Children Protection Week in South Africa. It's all about protecting children. But today, we are talking about children's ministry in a pandemic with one of the most powerful women on earth, right? I'm excited. Come on. Good morning, good morning, good morning to all those watching us on Roku TV, to all those watching us on Twitter, to all those watching us on Fire TV, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you are. We welcome you. YouTube, good morning to you. You are not left out. Now, everybody, brace yourself. Yes! Brace yourself. This is going to be a journey. A lovely one. Send your comments, send your questions using hashtag midnight date. I have that lady. She says, just call me Cora. Cora. What a lovely woman. I love her already. Now, can I just go ahead and bring her? Send your comments, your questions. We love, love, love reading from you. If you have just joined us, this is Midnight Date, and I am Major Daughter. Welcome, 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 everybody. Now, there is the lady.
Hello.
Pastor Cora Jakes-Coleman, the daughter of Bishop T.D. Jakes and First Lady Serita Jakes. Yes, this
Yeah.
is Midnight Date. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Happy second birthday. May you have many, 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 many more. I am honored to be one of your guests today. Thank you for having me.
Amen. Thank you so much. Now, I don't even want to waste time because so many questions are coming in. People are excited. Somebody wants to know, are you really, 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 really the biological daughter of Bishop T.D. Jakes, the most powerful man on earth, and First
It
Lady
is
Sarita?
true.
Are you? Tell us about that.
Actual factuals. I am the firstborn daughter of Bishop T.D. Jakes and First Lady Serita Jakes. And I have been their daughter all of my life. It's not a gimmick. If you see me, you see my daddy in me. You know, he couldn't disown me if he wanted to. I look just like my father. And on some days, if you squint your eyes close, I look a little bit like my mama. You never know who you're going to get. But absolutely, those are my parents. I'm so honored to be their daughter. They are a blessing, not just on the pulpit, but personally behind closed doors. And I know a lot of people don't get to see that side. And so I'm honored to be able to see the daddy bear and the mommy bear of the bishop and the first lady that you all see.
Wow, we give God the glory. That's exciting, but come to think about it. How does it feel? I wonder how it feels being a child of celebrity parents. How does it feel? Tell us about it.
Oh man, if I had $1 for every time I got that question, I would be a millionaire by now. I wish that I could tell you it was like an intricate answer, but to be honest with you, it's all I've ever known. And so it's difficult for me to answer that question because I don't know anything outside of that. It's comes with its advantages, it comes with its disadvantages. I believe that we live kind of in a fishbowl, so to speak. And so people are always looking at you, always spectating, always looking for you to trip, slip, or anything like that. And so it has been pressure from the world, not
Yeah.
necessarily my parents. But that's all I know. You know, they're that's my mom and my dad. To the world, they're bishop, they're first lady, they're these icons, these legends. But to me, they're just mommy bear and daddy bear. I don't know anything outside of that. I've been instilled and imparted with wisdom from them my entire life. So if it is just like you would have your dad or your mother, it's the same thing for me. They just happen to be in the spotlight, but I believe that because of their love and just what they've poured in to us as siblings, that even if you all didn't put the spotlight on them, that we would have done it.
Wow, incredible. And come to think of it, you've got your own life as well as an individual. You've got your own family. Now, tell the global family, who is Pastor Cora Jakes Coleman now? Now we're not talking about just a daughter of the most powerful parents on earth. No, we're talking about you. You've got your own
Just
life.
Cora. Um, I'm a really simple girl, you know. I'm a country girl at heart. I don't think I ever let West Virginia leave me. I was born in West Virginia, not raised in West Virginia, but definitely born in West Virginia. A lot of my younger life happened in West Virginia, and so I was the barefoot, you know, country girl walking around. I
Yeah.
still have like my country accent comes out every now and again. I like to make people laugh. I like to make people think. I've always been very, very wise since I was a little girl. My dad used to always say that I was wise beyond my years, but I guess like the real core of who I am as a person is just, you know, I'm that friend that says what you don't want to say. I'm very, very protective over people that I love. My parents call me Cokie Bear. I'm very, very ferocious about people that I love and care about. And I'm very, very blunt. I'm an honest person. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. And my mom would say it best, what comes up comes out. When you're when you're dealing with Cora, what comes up in her head is
Yeah.
normally going to come out
I
of
can
her
sure
mouth.
attest to that.
That is that's who I am just as a person. Just I never felt comfortable not being myself because I knew that wasn't sustainable. So I had to take the risk of being myself for people in the hopes that they would receive it. And so far so good. I've hit a few walls I was expecting, but so far people seem to do very well with my personality overall.
Wow, great. I love you.
Yeah,
I love
I
you.
love
I,
you
I think
back.
you've got
Thank
I
you.
think you've got one of the greatest personalities. I mean, humble, very
Thank
humble.
you. Thank you so much.
Now, here's a strange thing. We're talking about this is Children's Protection Week in South Africa, and we're talking children's ministry in a pandemic. You, people want to be apostles, prophets, bishops, and evangelists and stuff. And you, pastor, you just chose children. Tell us about your journey of becoming a children's pastor. What drives that passion? How did that come about?
Wow. I would love to have said that I chose pastoring children. That would have been a really great a great narrative for me to kind of roll with. But children's ministry chose me. To be
Wow.
honest with you, I as a little girl, 10 years old, was volunteering in the children's ministry. I was always in the nursery holding the babies, praying with the babies, laughing with them. As a little girl, I always wanted to be a mother. And so I think I just kind of gravitated towards the children because I figured, you want to be a mom, best practice children's ministry. Just throw me in there. And so I did that. I volunteered in our children's ministry from about 10 to easily 18 years old, volunteered off and on. But at 13, my mother, I'll tell you where it all struck. At 13, my mother said, hey, Cora, what do you want to do for the summer? And I said, I want to get a job. I want to work at a daycare. And she said, if you can find somebody to hire you
Daycare?
at a daycare, then you can go to the daycare. And at
Wow.
13, I don't know if y'all remember, but we had yellow books, your big phone books you,
Yeah.
you carried
Phone.
around. We didn't have Google when I was 13. So here I was with yellow books calling every single daycare. Are you hiring? I'm 13. Are you hiring? I'm 13. Are you
Wow.
hiring? And I got to a daycare and I said, hey, my name is Cora. I'm 13. Are you hiring? And she said, oh, baby, you're 13. No, we're not. We can't hire a 13-year-old, but would you like to come and just volunteer for the summer? And I said, absolutely. And so I ran downstairs to my mom. I told her, hey, I found a daycare. I found a daycare that'll let me work. They'll let me work. And she said, okay, we're going to drive you up to the daycare. We're going to see what the daycare looks like, and then we'll decide whether you can work there or not. Long story short, we drove up to the daycare, and it happened to be one of my mom's dream team workers who owned the daycare. And my mom, just with glee, smiled as big as she possibly could when we pulled up to the daycare. She's like, oh, that's Miss Belinda. That's Miss Belinda. I know her. I know her. So she left me at the daycare, and I worked at that daycare every single summer from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. at 13 years old. And it was in that moment just kind of touching the children's hearts and being able to really encourage them and see them develop from that space of newborn to first steps
Wow.
and understanding. It just was an amazing thing. And I'm big on process. And I believe that you don't get a better perspective of process outside of the children's ministry. So that's where it all started. 13 years old, wanting to work at a daycare, and then fell in love with it. I fell in love with it, and I was a nanny. My mom called me and she said, I need you to come back to the church. I got married, came back to the church. I told the pastor at the time, or rather the director at the time, I told him when I walked in, I said, I'm going to have your job before the end of the year. And he laughed at me and kind of shrugged his shoulders. And I said, your job was created for me. I'm going to
Mm.
have your job at the end of the year. And sure enough, at the end of the year, he had been released, and I became the
Wow.
interim director. Became the interim director. Then my dad and my mom ordained me as the children's pastor
Wow.
in July for our anniversary, and it's been all she wrote since then. So it's always been in me, taking care of children. If I didn't have somebody's child, I had my baby dolls. If I didn't have a baby doll, I was sitting with my nephew. I've always had a baby in my hands in some way.
You are special. I'm telling you, you're incredible. You're amazing. Now, when did you know that you were gifted to impact children and youth? When? How did you find it? Because you started doing this at the age of 13. My God.
Yeah. I want to say my first Little Women's Conference. I did a Little Women's Conference. I was 16 years old, and it was about bridging the gap of communication between mothers and daughters and
Wow.
sisters and just women in general. And I can remember seeing a mother and a daughter that was sitting out while I was ministering, and they just were looking at me so intently. And afterwards, the little girl came up to me and she said, "When I grow up, I want to be able to help people like you."
Wow.
And I said, "Oh, well, you don't have to wait till you grow up to help people. You can help people right now." And she said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, there's a whole world inside of you to help people right now as a little child." And I just began to speak to her about how David was anointed as a young child, and the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were young. And I just began to speak to her about how your age doesn't have to be an indication of your ability. And looking at the way that she responded to the encouragement and responded to me imparting into her, I instantly knew, like, I want to spend the rest of my life encouraging people, but most certainly the future generation, that they don't have to wait till they grow up to be something amazing. They don't have to wait to be an adult to change the world and to be anointed. And I wanted to be that message. I wanted to be that messenger. I wanted to stop dummying down children's ministry and really challenge them to be that, to be the change, to be the voice, to be the hope for children who were watching them and even children who had gone before them. So it was in that moment, that first conference, talking to that little girl and just her looking up at me like I had changed her entire perspective of what she could do. I was like, this is what I want to do for my life.
Wow. Now, what are some of the key characteristics that you look for in developing a support team for children's ministry? Because I know so many pastors are watching, so many pastors are joining us right now. They would love to know, what do you look for?
Um, Well, for me, like I said, I'm very ferocious about the people that I care about, and even more so about my team. And so for me, I didn't really develop my team so much as I allowed God to lead me to my team. And my parents, my god sisters would tell you my team is the best team by far. My mom uses my team often, just because of how solid, loyal, and strong they are as a group. I'm always looking for loyalty when I'm looking for a team, whether it's children's ministry or not. That's one of the things that I most certainly am going to look for. Especially when you're thinking about children, because they need consistency and they need loyalty. So I'm always looking for loyalty. I'm always looking for consistency. But then I'm also, and I think the biggest thing that I'm looking for in a team and volunteers in general is a heart for children, because children's ministry is not something you just do. It's not an usher position. You're not just grabbing tissues and sending people to their seats. It's not hospitality. Children's ministry is a ministry that requires the heart of who you are to be on your sleeve almost 24/7 as you're around these children. We work in an inner city community. And so our kids, sometimes we're the only hug they'll see. We're the only I love you they'll see. We're the only impartation that they're going to get for their entire week. Some of my kids, I'm the first I love you. I'm the first you're doing great that they will get. And so for me, when I'm looking for a team, I'm looking for people who are as dedicated
Yes.
to the children as I am, who have a heart for it. And I'll tell you, when I became the pastoral overseer, we had our ministers just coming over to children's ministry to help us with altar call and stuff. And some of them just didn't have a heart for children's ministry. And I shut it all down. I said, I don't want anybody over here that does not have a heart to come
Yeah.
over here. I don't want you to do altar call. I don't want you to come over here just to be rushing to go back and listen to my father. I want people in here
Yes.
who really want to be here. And so I think it's important when you're looking for a team in children's ministry and just in general that you find people who are as dedicated and determined as you are to bring about an experience, an encounter with God for these children that will make them remember you for a lifetime.
Very true, because most churches struggle with pastors for children's church who always want to rush into the main service. Hello, you are the
Yep.
children's pastor. Now,
Yep.
I wanna have a sneak peek into one of your services, the children's
Okay.
ministry service. How does it look like? What does it look like? What are your non-negotiables? Because I can see that there you don't joke.
We are a children's church.
Yeah.
So what that looks like for me, I didn't want it to look like a babysitting service. I didn't want it to look like you just dropping your kids off and your kids hanging out with us for a few snacks, but I wanted them to experience church on their level and make it reachable. So my non-negotiables, we're always going to have praise and worship. We always have our core values, and our core values are laced in. I'm an acronym girl. Everything I do, almost every time I preach or minister or teach, I use acronyms. And so our core values are based off of Destiny World. I am destined. I am effective. I am strong. I am teachable. I am intelligent. I am noble. I am yours, Lord. And so we have our children to say that in the mornings before they do praise and worship. And then we have a little bit of a message after that. And then they go into their separate classrooms where their teachers will go into deeper detail on the story for that day. They'll have activities, they will have snack, and we do have playtime for our younger ones as well. And our olders, they have like their games, video games, and different things like that. But our main focus is always going to be coming together for praise and worship. When we were in the old building, that's what we did. In the new building, in the trailers, we always tried to make sure that we came together at some point to do praise and worship, and then to instill those core values, because like I said, sometimes we're the only encouragement that that child is going to get for their entire week. So I wanted to make sure that they had something every single day that said, I'm destined, I'm effective, something they could just keep, as their mantra as they're going throughout their day. And so those are our non-negotiables, kind of an idea of how our services go, or went rather,
Yeah.
before
The
the
pandemic.
pandemic. Yes.
Now, how have you and the children's church, been able to keep your doors open virtually? How are you doing
Um,
children's ministry in a pandemic?
Well, actually, we are doing really great being able to engage our children virtually. And incidentally, I think that it's kind of easier for us because our children are virtual anyway.
Wow.
And so it was easy. It's easier to sit your child in front of a YouTube video for 30 minutes than it is to get them to wake up in the morning, eat breakfast, put on your church clothes, jump in the car, drive all the way up the street so that you can make it to church on time, and then sit in service and be quiet the entire time. And so this really gave us an opportunity to kind of expand the experience for our children from a virtual perspective. So now we do the same thing. We still have praise and worship, we still have our core values, but now I do a message for our children, and then we do a story video for them to watch that kind of instills the substance of the message that I gave. And then we have often we have a STEAM activity for them to focus on, because our deal is not just about the biblical principles, but we want to teach our children the fundamental practices of life. So we teach them about science, technology, we teach them about electronics. We are big on mathematics and the arts in general. And so we make sure that we give them a STEAM activity as well. And then we close out in prayer. And my statement now for them is to wash their hands,
Yes.
take a stand, remember to keep love in their plan, and wear their mask. And so every week on YouTube, we are meeting with our children. Every week, we're sending out either an email or a message. We're doing back to school bashes, drive through parades, and different things like that, just to let them know, hey, we're still thinking of y'all. We really wish you were still here. And that's how we can connect to them at this current time during the pandemic. And it's been really, really, really good to be able to see our children's ministry grow in spite of the pandemic itself.
Yeah. Oh, we give God the glory for that because I believe it's not been easy, but there you are, you're doing it.
No, not easy at all. The hardest part is not being able to see my kiddos.
Yeah.
Man, it's tough. Like I said, we're in the inner city, and I think one of the worst parts for especially me and my team, because we're all moms. So to see our children every Sunday, we all have that little kid we're used to seeing every Sunday, or that little kid we're used to seeing every
Yeah.
Wednesday, and hugging on or encouraging a little bit more than maybe the other child. And so it was tough not knowing if our kids are okay, if they're cold, if they're eating, if they're doing okay in school, because we were doing tutoring and homework help
Yeah.
while we were in church as well. So it was tough, us as moms, having to wonder if the kiddos are okay, if they're doing okay. And so the best I can do is just try to greet them and meet with them every Sunday and give them virtual hugs. But it was I want to say that was the hardest thing for the entire team, is just not knowing, are our kids okay?
Yes. I hope all the children's church pastors are listening that we do tutoring in children's church and also
We
homeworks.
did.
Hello. Not just
Yes.
Jesus was born of Mary, you know? It's more than that.
Absolutely, absolutely. We want our kids to be well-rounded. I think my parents, one of the greatest gifts they ever gave us was to make sure we were exposed and well-rounded. I listened to all types of music. My father has exposed me to all different types of countries,
Wow.
customs, and cultures, and foods and cuisines. And so we want our children to be well rounded. We understand that there is a need for biblical foundation and principle, but we also understand that that's not going to get them an A in math. That's not going to get them through college. That's not going to get them a scholarship. And so we want to make sure that we create an environment that doesn't say that we just care about your spiritual well-being, but we care about your whole being in general. And so that has been an amazing thing that my father kind of spearheaded as well. He was very, very intentional about making sure that the children had a STEAM or STEM program that they could be a part of and engaged in for free. Might I add, we did a foundational summer camp for our children during the virtual time for free. And it was an amazing experience for the children to be able to have that experience without the parents having to feel like, I've got to pay an arm and a leg for my child to have an experienced education or even access to something like that. So it's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing what my father's been able to do, how he's held us up. We haven't wanted for a job, our bills are being paid, and it's just been absolutely amazing to be a part of a ministry that uh, cares about more than just your spirit, but cares about your well-being in general.
So you're still doing everything virtually right now?
Yes, we are. We have softly opened for our volunteers
Okay.
and staff, and soon, after a few more Sundays, we are thinking about opening up to the public for in service. But as far as the children's church is concerned, we're not sure about opening that back up just yet because our kids can't get vaccinated. even though the adults can, our children can't. So we have to be very mindful about how we even take those types of protocols as we go into the next steps of opening up.
Thank you so much for really honoring us. We honor you double, double. The Bible says there are those among us that deserve double honor. Those among us who
Thank
deserve
you.
double honor. And you're one of them. Now, a parting shot for the global community. So many messages are coming from pastors really who are pastoring children's ministry. Now, your last words to them, parting shot. Parting shot. The Lord bless your heart. The Lord increase you. The Lord be gracious to you and your family. Parting shot to all these pastors in children's ministry.
Thank you. Thank you. I think if I could leave you with anything, I would leave you with don't underestimate the anointing that God has placed in these children. If the Bible is sure, and we know it to be sure, the Bible declares that a child will lead them. Now, this could be interpreted as many different things, whether it is a child of God or an actual child is not really indicated, but we do know that the mindset there of a child is going to lead them. And if we know this to be true, we know this to be Bible, then it is important that we do not underestimate, downgrade, or diminish the power of our children. They are not too young to cast out demons. They're not too young to prophesy. Don't believe me? I have seen children prophesy. I've seen them pray. I've seen them cry out before the Lord because they felt the tangible glory of God and was overwhelmed by it. I have seen children be able to break strongholds off of their friends just by simply coming into agreement with them that whatever it was that they were going through was going to be dismantled by the hand of God. Whatever it is that you are doing as a children's pastor, if it is not to the glory of God and to the expansion of the children, the future, the leaders, then you're doing yourself and you're doing your children a disservice. I would tell you that this is a season and a time where you could be a huge platform for a power that is unknown. Often we push our children to the back burner because we do not understand that they were the ones who started the fire to begin with. Maybe if we pull them back to the forefront, we'll get a little bit more headway as it comes to the anointing and the glory that we're expecting. I don't want the same church. I didn't go through a pandemic for a year and a half to come back to the same church service, the same praise and worship, the same prayers, the same. I came back to the church to experience a new glory. And what if that new glory is the children?
I came back to the church for a new glory. And what if that new glory is the children? Those are the words from Pastor Cora Jakes-Coleman. She says, call me Cora. Oh, we are very, very grateful. That brings us to the end. You know, time flies. Time flies when you're having fun like this. But I believe you have learned something. I believe you have taken something. But go and apply this, because taking this and just learning something is not enough. Will you go and apply this? Go and better your children's ministry. Let the children's ministry be a priority in your church. This is not just any interview. This is about the children's ministry that matters. Let the children be the new glory. Now, from us to all our viewers around the world and our partners, well done.
Nyagaza pena